Alright, Diablo 4 players, let's talk about it. The Mythic items. What is the best way to go ahead and actually get these in Season 7, as things have actually updated a little bit. But these are basically the rarest items in the game, and I want to give you guys some realistic expectations. It's going to take hours and hours of farming, especially if you want to get multiple of them, and the one maybe with this specific greater affix. It is honestly just straight up randomness which role gives you that greater affix. But I want to go and show you guys all the methods in one video, and the last one is actually what I'm going to recommend the most in terms of the one that I could say is the best to do, but it does require a little bit more explanation. So I want to start off the video by going over all of the different methods that you can actually get a mythic unique. So there are several different ways to get them. You can obviously get them to drop, but on top of that, I'm going to have some gameplay in the background that just shows off consistent kills on the tormented bosses, which is essentially the best way to actually acquire these. But you can technically craft these. Now, they will require a special material called a resplendent spark. You can see it's a cost of 2 resplendent sparks and 50 million gold to craft a random one. Now, how do we get these sparks? Let's go over all of those methods as well. But first off, as far as crafting goes, there is a way where you can craft. It gives you a random one, but it does require those specific set of materials. Now, if you want to guarantee the exact mythic unique that you want, you're not only going to have those 2 sparks, but it does require 6 copies of multiple different runes. And these areas of crafting can be found at the blacksmith in any town or at the jeweler. So if you want to craft a random one, again, you have no control over which one that it's going to give you. You would then go into Forge Equipment, go to the Mythic Uniques, and it's going to give you a random one. Remember, you have no control over this one, other than whatever class that you're playing. You're not going to get a 2-handed sword on a sorceress because, well, it shouldn't be able to drop on that one. But then if you want to get the one that you can choose exactly which Mythic Unique that you want, you will then go to the jeweler, and then you just click where it says Mythic Uniques, and each one of these is going to require a bunch of different runes. Now, these runes are technically tradable, but I also want to mention really quick that you can randomly get the runes that you may need, and what it does require you to do is you convert 3 runes of the same rarity to essentially get the same rarity of the rune, or you have a 15% chance to grant a random rune of a legendary quality, or essentially it's going up in 1 tier. But if you happen to have a bunch of runes that you don't need, well, you just get another random one. But it is a 3-to-1 ratio, so it's usually pretty bad. I'm not going to really recommend doing this, other than doing it for, let's say, the rare runes. But for the most part, the legendary ones, go to Diablo.trade, trade these for gold, then get the gold, then just buy the one that you want. Otherwise, you are usually going to be wasting your currency. Now, these runes are something that you can trade with other players, but I'm going to be real with you guys, it takes so much farming in terms of the gold cost. You are pretty much never going to achieve the amount of gold that's required, because it's like hundreds and hundreds of millions to buy all of the runes by basically playing the game. The way that you're going to actually acquire these is that you would sell other items for those runes. Now, you cannot trade those sparks. Sparks are account bound, but there are ways that you can guarantee to get the sparks. Also, want to mention that there is a limited time mode where you can get another spark to actually craft your mythic, and that is with the Lunar Event. This lasts until February 18th, so after that, though, this will go away, but they bring these sort of events back once in a while, so there may be some that are similar. Basically, you just kill monsters while you have a shrine active, and eventually you're going to get a spark. It takes about an hour and a half to complete the entirety of this. This is a really fast and easy way to get a additional spark. In addition to that, though, there are also other ways to acquire sparks via tributes. There are 2 tributes that I want to mention over here. They are called Tributes of Ascendance Resolute and United. One will work in a party, one will work just for yourself, but it has a chance to give you a mythic unique. What is that chance? I don't know the exact drop rate, but don't expect to be a 100% drop rate. Now, you will activate these in the Undercity, but how do we acquire these Tributes of Ascendance? So you can see towards the bottom of it, it will be found rarely from Whisper caches. So if you want to activate these, you will have to go ahead and have them in your inventory, and then you go take it to the area. You will have to have the expansion, by the way, for this, but yeah, you just go to the Undercity, you talk to the NPC, you put it in, and you will have a chance at the very end to maybe get a Mythic Unique. But as far as getting those runes, honestly, doing the tormented bosses, which you guys are seeing in the background, is one way that you can actually get them, but they are so incredibly rare. They basically upped the rarity of these this season, so it's kind of hard to get them, but depending on which one that you want to craft, you can guarantee it, but it's going to require not only the spark, but it requires the runes also. So that's another way that you can get these mythic uniques. But how do we get these sparks, right? Because, well, you can, first off, you can salvage any mythic unique to get 1 spark per. Now, on top of that, you can also use the Coven's Favor. So this is next to the Tree of Whispers in the map. It's kind of like the bounty board for seasons. They do this every single season. However, some seasons you can repeat these infinitely, and these are acquired once per new character. So you can farm these again and again, but it's going to require you to do a lot of the grim favors, but towards the very end, you will get a guaranteed 1 Resplendent Spark. Remember, it's going to cost you 2 to craft a random one, or 2 to actually craft the one that you want. In addition, you need the runes, and we can go over that as well. Now, there's another method that you're going to be able to acquire another spark. So you can get another spark by specifically doing the Season's Journey. If you open up the Season Journey over on your menu, you can actually also get one at the very end. This one, just as a heads up, kind of takes a really long time, but there are other ways that you can actually acquire them. Now, the very first time your account does this, if you do any of the tormented bosses, you can get another spark, but that's only once per account. More than likely, you guys have already gotten it, and so you can't just keep on getting these over and over again. That's like a one-time thing. There's also the Uber Lilith boss kill, and I'll also link some of the things I'm going to be mentioning here because it ties into it. If you want to do any of these bosses, you're going to require a bunch of materials to do these again and again, and we'll get into that. And that's kind of the best method that I can actually recommend you guys to actually do to actually farm some of these mythic uniques. But essentially, they're only really going to drop from like World Tier 4 bosses. You can get them technically in T1, but I'm going to recommend go to the highest difficulty that you can possibly do. Specifically, just do T4. Honestly, just save your materials until that happens, because you're going to get more bang for your buck, because it will give you an increased drop rate. There's no official like data on what the drop rate is, but we're looking at maybe 1 to 2% in terms of like the drop rate. If you want like realistic numbers, it takes hours and hours of farming. And also in the background, you guys are seeing how fast we are actually farming some of these bosses. Again, most of these things you can delete in like 1 to 2 seconds if you happen to have a good group, but you do need someone to be able to kill the boss. So don't expect again to start out your progression and be like, okay, I'm level 60, it's time to go farm, you know, World Tier 4 bosses. It's going to take a while to get these materials, and I'll get into that in a second. But another thing that you can do to actually acquire a spark is, again, by salvaging, but you can also, not only Lilith will give you a spark too, so that's killing the tormented variant of Lilith, that will also give you a spark drop, but that is only one time that you're going to be able to do it per season. So that's another way that you can get an additional spark. So that pretty much covers the sparks. Technically, you can be out in the open world as long as it's T1, you should be able to get one. But I'm going to be real with you guys, that data is so incredibly bad, and technically you can also get this if you just use the Obols. So the Purveyor of Curiosities NPC, the one that is in town, you can actually get it from that as well. But again, these are so rare, and I'm going to use this as an example here. All right, you see these girls? You have a better chance at them DMing you on Instagram asking you, hey, you want to come over to my house and play some Yu-Gi-Oh cards? You have a better chance of that happening than to get a mythic unique to just randomly drop or do a nightmare dungeon, okay? Technically, yes, I get it. You can get it from a nightmare dungeon. You can get it from like the open world that can just randomly drop, or you can get it from the Obol vendor, right? But those are so rare. Again, it's like another concept is if you were to find a winning lottery ticket in the trash can, sure, it could happen, but realistically, I do not recommend these methods at all. So what method do I recommend? Well, I recommend you guys to do the bosses, which you guys have been seeing gameplay of in the background the whole time I've been talking. This is 1000% the best way to go ahead and actually get your mythic uniques, be it just the drop, or you just get a random one, you salvage, and then you get the spark, and then you can craft whatever one that you want. So again, these are the bosses that you want to do, and I highlighted them on the map over here. If I send you the link, you'll have to type in this specific word in the little search box from the Mobalytics page, because it shows you exactly where these bosses are. Now, each one of these bosses, if you want to know what the materials are for these, you have to click on like which boss that you're doing, because each one of these bosses will require a different set of materials. And you should do these in what's called a rota run, meaning a rotation. So that means you put in your materials, you do it, and then someone else puts in their materials, and you all kind of rotate around. That way you get more bang for your buck. Basically, how it works is you have 4 players. Each person ideally would put in the same amount, but if you join a group and you have 9 runs and everyone else has 10s, usually people don't care. Just specify how many runs that you have. Now, after you click on whatever boss that you're trying to do, because again, any of these can drop it. You want to do World Tier 4, again, for the highest drop chance. And each one of these will require a very specific form of material. Now, there is a way to find a group to do these rota runs built into the game. Now, I'm going to be straight up with you guys. Most players that are using the in-game Diablo finder are not very good. I'm just going to give you guys realistic data here. So the reason why I don't like using the find a party, it's great that they added this feature, but again, most of the players here, they suck, and or they're just looking for someone else to bring the materials, because they'll say bring materials and they won't have them. So if I'm telling you guys, don't use the in-game search feature, where do I go to find a group? Well, honestly, finding a group in other people's Twitch chats is actually a pretty good thing. Sometimes you guys come into my chat saying we have some runs. I happen to have some runs, and usually when I have runs, I'm like, hey guys, I got a bunch of materials. Does anyone need to do the runs? I just fill it up. Ideally, you have at least 1 or 2 people that can be the carry in a group, and I'll get into that in a second. But basically, you want to get your materials, and if you want to get these materials, there's a lot of different ways to get these materials, because again, you want to do these bosses again and again. So how you can get some of these, this is Exquisite Blood, some of them are a little bit different, but basically the Tree of Whisper rewards, you can get it from elite monsters with the world bosses, the Blood Maiden. You can also get it from the Undercity. There are like these tributes. That is another way that you can get some of these materials to fight these bosses. And also bartering at the Mercenary Den, those are excellent areas that you can get some of these materials. But another way that you can actually find a group, this is like the best method to find a group. Use Discord. Type in the Diablo 4 Sanctuary Discord, okay? Type in this, go click on this, you join. It's the one with like 500,000 members. This is your ticket to finding a group. And on top of that, what I recommend, if you find a group, it's really good, make sure you add them as a friend so you can play again and again. I mean, you're going to have to add them anyways to play, but don't feel like you have to remove people when it is finished. You can keep them on your friends list if they were either good or you just kind of vibe with them. Sometimes people like to, use the in-game microphone. Sometimes you can set up a Discord call with all of them. It does make things easier if everyone has microphones, but for the most part, I'll be honest, most people don't really use mics in here, but it does definitely help out speed things up in terms of progression. And so once you go to the Discord for the Sanctuary Diablo 4, you're going to see it'll kind of open up. It'll say if you're playing softcore and hardcore, but basically use this section. You can see where it says SC, which means softcore. If you're hardcore, then you join hardcore. But softcore, LFG, which means looking for a group, and then ladder bosses. I literally just took the screenshot earlier today. And you can see where it says today at this time. So what this means is LF2, looking for 2 more people. Tormented 4, everyone's doing Tormented 4, by the way. Do not really do these on anything less, because you're going to have a less chance for those mythics to drop. And then we have Beast, which means they're doing Beast and Ice, or Varshan, or whatever the thing is. And then they'll have either their battle tag, so you want to add them. This is their battle tag over here. Just add them and they'll understand. And then when it says like times 10, that means you have times 10 of the materials that are required. Keep in mind, every single boss will require different things. Like if you're doing Duriel, well, you're going to need the eggs. If you're doing Varshan, you're going to need certain other materials. Beast and Ice requires certain things. They all have different materials, not all the same. So keep in mind as far as that goes. Now, where can you also farm the materials for these bosses? I really recommend you guys to go to these green areas. It's for the new season. So go into these areas, and what you're going to do most of the time is just kill the goblins. The goblins drop these quite frequently, but there's a lot of other ways that you can get them. If you have the pale marks, you can see there's these boss summoning caches. There's also the tributes that will also be in the Undercity that you can also utilize to get those boss materials. That's a great way to go ahead and get them. Another thing that you can do in game is you can actually trade. This is a website called Diablo.trade, and you connect your Battle.net account, and then basically you whisper people, and you can see there's people listing Exquisite Blood. But again, depending on the boss that you're doing, it's going to require different things. Like, for example, Beast and Ice is Distilled Fear. If you're looking to do Gregor, you need what's called Living Making Steel. They all have their own requirement. Now, not only can you get the Mythics, but there are other things that you can get from these. Specifically, you can get uniques that may be particularly strong for your build. So don't feel like you only have to go for Mythics, even though that's the topic of the video, and that's pretty much why people sit there and they'll farm bosses for hours and hours. And I want to, again, give you guys realistic expectations. If you are interested in like, oh, I really want this one Mythic unique, don't expect it to be like, oh, it drops first time. But also the class that you play matters. You can see the grandfather over here. This is a two-handed sword. So it's only going to be dropping for the barbarian or the necromancer. If you are not those class, it will never drop. As far as I'm aware of, unless there's some other glitch that may happen. But as far as I'm aware of, it has never happened in the history of Diablo 4. Sometimes in Diablo 3 you can get like not smart loot drops, but I have not seen anyone get a mythic for a class that they cannot use. So if you're like, I really want to farm this item for a very specific class, make sure that you are playing the class that it can drop. But this can take hours, and I'm talking hours just to get one mythic doing rotational runs again and again. It's going to take time. It's not something that it's like, oh, I watched this 10-minute YouTube video, all right, I'm gonna go get this in 10 minutes. The guide is to show you guys all the different methods to acquire it. Now again, with these sparks, some of these are actually quite long. Like doing Uber Lilith, it'll take you like 2 seconds. You can basically one-shot the character. It's not really difficult content anymore. But some of these Coven's Favor, they're gonna take you a really long amount of time. So the best thing to do is do these bosses and do them again and again. Expect several hours to get like enough, well, to get maybe like, let's say, I want to say the drop rate is about 1 to 2%, so expect to do these again and again before you even see any results, okay? So anyways, that's going to wrap things up. If there's anything else that you guys felt like I missed out on that was other great tips for like beginners or even advanced players for the mythic farming, let me know down below. But that's the methods that you can utilize to get all of the sparks and other ways that you can go ahead and actually acquire everything. And again, check the pin. I will leave a couple links for you guys that will really help out in case you need to find like, you know, the Sanctuary Discord, or if you need the link for like the map to know where are these bosses, because they all spawn in different locations. And with the update, I believe on season 6, you can just keep on rolling them again and again. You don't have to like exit the area and then you have to like reset the world. They made it much nicer in season 6, so you don't have to do that anymore. It's one of my favorite changes. But again, type in the keyword layer on the map and it'll show you exactly where these bosses are, and then that way you guys can farm them again and again, and you can get whatever you know, mythic hopefully that you want in the near future. But anyways, that's gonna wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed it, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn the bell if you guys want to see more content, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. And also, we'll be uploading a video very soon going over the best mythics. So if you're new, you want to see it, subscribe and you'll see it. Anyways, peace out.